primary school stood on the edge of the old quarter of Ravensbrück, a small northern European city known for its fog-heavy mornings and streets older than memory itself. The school buildings formed a square around an open stone courtyard, the Parade Square, as everyone called it. To the west stood the main academic block, a tall grey structure whose windows reflected the sky like dull mirrors. The assembly hall stretched along the northern edge, its wooden doors always creaking in the wind. To the east lay the playing field, often wet from the constant drizzle, and to the south, narrow public roads funneled parents, teachers, and buses into the square every morning and afternoon. The Parade Square was the heart of everything. And for a long time, it was also where something went terribly wrong. When I was 8 years old, a girl from my class, Elise Marin, died there. It happened on an autumn evening when the light faded early and the air smelled of rain. Some students had stayed behind for choir practice. Others waited for late buses. Elise had been skipping across the square, chasing a ball that rolled further than she expected. One of the school buses entered too quickly through the southern gate. The driver braked, but the wet stones offered little mercy. The accident silenced the school. For days afterward, the square was closed. The janitors worked long hours under dim floodlights, scrubbing the dark stains from between the old stones. Even after the cleaning, some of us swore the color never fully left. When it rained, the stones seemed darker there. Assemblies grew quiet. Music lessons stopped for a while. Teachers spoke in softer voices, as if loud sounds might disturb something unseen. Bright orange barriers were placed across sections of the Parade Square every evening. We were told where to stand, where not to walk, where to wait for buses. The rules became strict, almost excessive. Then, a few months later, the complaints began. During a morning assembly, the headmaster informed us that a parent had reported children playing in the Parade Square after dismissal hours. According to the parent, a girl had suddenly run across the stones in front of their car. They had swerved just in time. No one was hurt. But the strange part was that no children were supposed to be there at all. The school responded immediately. Students were ordered to wait inside the hall until buses arrived. Teachers escorted every group personally. Physical education classes were banned from the square entirely. The place slowly became something to avoid rather than gather in. Still, the reports continued. Once or twice a term, a letter or phone call would arrive. Someone had seen children running. Someone had heard laughter echoing after sunset. A passing driver claimed a girl in an old-fashioned uniform had crossed the square and vanished near the western wall. Teachers began taking turns watching from the windows after dismissal. They never saw anything, but the complaints never stopped. Years passed. Eventually, the old school was demolished as part of a city redevelopment project. The buildings were aging, the stones uneven, the layout outdated. A modern campus replaced it. Glass walls, clean lines, security cameras everywhere. I returned years later as an adult, more curious than nostalgic. One of the older teachers, Frau Keller, still worked there. Over coffee, she mentioned something she probably shouldn't have. During the renovation, when workers lifted the original stones of the Parade Square, they discovered something beneath them, a single skeletal finger. The official report claimed it was likely overlooked during the chaos of the accident years before, torn free at the moment of impact and forced deep between the stones, hidden, forgotten. No one could explain how it remained there for so long. Frau Keller told me that after the remains were finally removed and reburied properly, the report stopped completely. No more calls, no more sightings, no more stories of children running where no children should be. The new parade square is bright now, clean, orderly. But sometimes, when the evening fog rolls in from the river and settles low over the ground, people say the stones still echo faintly, as if footsteps once trapped there took a long time to fade, and only left once they were finally found. I went to a small public primary school on the outskirts of Ballarat, Victoria, a town known for its old gold rush history and long winter nights. The school itself wasn't very old, but the land it stood on had stories long before classrooms and playgrounds were built there. The campus served students from grade 1 through grade 5. Beyond that, everyone moved on to the middle school across town. Even now, years later, the rumours from that place still follow me. Every school has stories. Ours had one name, Lena Whitmore. No one could agree on when the story started. Some said it was long before we enrolled. Others insisted it began only a few years earlier. But everyone knew the same version. Lena was a student who had taken her own life in the girls' bathroom after months of bullying. The teachers never spoke about it, and whenever students asked questions, they were told not to spread harmful rumors. That only made the story grow. According to older students, Lena had been buried somewhere beneath the soccer field behind the school. The field was enormous, stretching far beyond the playground fence. Its grass uneven in places, as if the ground itself had settled badly over time. During sports day, we were always warned not to run too fast near the far end, where the soil dipped strangely. Kids whispered that was where she was. The most popular rumor, of course, involved the mirrors. If you stood alone in the girls' bathroom, turned off the lights, and said Lena 3 times, she would appear behind you in the reflection, but you weren't supposed to look at her for long. If you did, she would follow you out. Some said she dragged people into the mirrors. Others said she simply watched until you couldn't move anymore. It sounded like every other school legend, until strange things started happening. When I was in grade 4, my older sister told me something she had heard from students in the upper classes. She said that years ago, before the rumors spread, a girl had actually been found dead in one of the bathrooms. The details changed depending on who told it. Some said it was an accident, others said something far worse. No one knew the truth. But what made it unsettling was that the school never denied that an incident had happened. They only refused to talk about it. Around that time, I started noticing things myself. Behind the gymnasium, on the outer brick wall where students rarely went, there were small carvings etched into the surface. At first glance they looked like scratches, but when you looked closer, you could see shapes, crude crosses, dozens of them carved at different heights. No one admitted to making them. Teachers claimed it was vandalism from years ago. Still, students avoided that side of the building, especially in the late afternoon when shadows stretched long across the asphalt. There was also the bump in the soccer field. It wasn't large enough to be obvious, but when we ran during sports lessons, we had to watch our step or risk tripping. The ground felt hollow there somehow, softer than the rest. Even the grass grew unevenly, darker in patches. Kids joked about it, but nobody liked standing there alone. The school had only one night security officer, an older man named Mr. Collins. He was quiet, the type who nodded more than he spoke. Sometimes we saw him locking gates in the evenings when after-school activities ended. One winter, rumors began spreading about things he had seen during his patrols. According to one teacher, who probably shouldn't have told students, Mr. Collins often heard noises late at night inside the halls, running footsteps, laughter echoing faintly through empty corridors. doors opening and closing when no one else was inside. At first, everyone assumed it was animals or pipes expanding in the cold. But then came the story that everyone remembered. One night, while checking the south wing, he saw a woman standing near the entrance of the girls' bathroom. She was tall and motionless. Her hair was dark and long, hanging forward so her face couldn't be seen. She wore what looked like an old wedding dress, and beside her sat a black cat. When he called out, she didn't respond. She only turned slightly, as if acknowledging him, and then stepped into the bathroom. When he followed seconds later, the room was empty. After that, Mr. Collins refused to patrol that corridor alone. What made the story worse was that sightings weren't limited to night. Students occasionally claimed to see a tall woman near the bathroom entrance during lunch breaks. She never spoke, never moved toward anyone. She simply stood there, watching. Teachers dismissed it as imagination, but more than one student described the same details: the dress, the dark hair, the cat, and always the bathroom. I remember one afternoon when a group of girls ran out screaming, swearing someone had been inside the last stall, even though the door opened to nothing. The mirrors were fogged despite the taps being dry. After that, fewer students used those bathrooms unless they absolutely had to. By the time I moved on to middle school, the rumours had already become part of the school's identity. New students learned them within weeks. The story changed slightly every year, growing darker, stranger. Some said Lena wasn't buried under the field at all, that something else had been there long before the school was built. Others believed the crosses behind the gym were attempts to keep something contained. The strangest part, though, came much later. A friend who still attended the school told me that construction workers had begun repairing the soccer field after heavy rain caused part of the ground to sink. For a few days, that section was fenced off. No one told students what was found underneath, but after that, the security guards stopped reporting noises at night. The south wing bathroom was renovated, and slowly the sightings stopped. Even now, when I pass by the school in the evening, the place looks normal. Kids laugh on the playground. Parents wait by the gates. Nothing seems unusual. But sometimes, when the wind moves through the empty halls after sunset, people say you can still hear footsteps echoing faintly, like children running late for class. And if you look too long at the mirrors in the south wing bathroom, you might notice someone standing just behind you, waiting to be noticed. Some people still say stories like this are only rumours, but others believe every school has something it never talks about. What do you think? Was this just imagination, or do you believe something really stayed behind in that school? Let me know in the comments if you've ever experienced something similar.